Good evening and welcome to Prime Edition. Tonight we have details of the political realignments happening in the country. Today we saw 30 Jubilee members of Parliament visiting State House. Another 10 of ODM were at State House Nairobi yesterday meeting President Dr. William Samoei Ruto. Tonight we speak on political realignments in the country. We have the Honorable Joshua Mbidi, the Member of Parliament, former singer, coming up in this broadcast. Also, we tell you about the pain of that vacancy in a secondary school. This all on Prime Edition. Here are tonight's highlights. Putting aside political differences, more than 30 Jubilee MPs meet President William Ruto at State House, Nairobi. Final farewell to the late Professor George Magoha. The funeral caravan of the fallen former education CS traverses the city. And thirst for education. A 12-year-old boy treks for 8 kilometers to secure his Form 1 vacancy in a Migori school. All right, Susan Thuku is a sign language interpreter. My name is John Jacob Kioria. Welcome to the broadcast. More than 30 Jubilee members of Parliament have pledged to work with the government to advance its development agenda. The legislators pledged to put aside their political differences for the sake of service delivery. The breakfast meeting held at State House, Nairobi, Wednesday was yet another hint that all was not well in the Azimio camp. 30 members of the DAV party engaged President William Ruto on development matters and moving the country forward beyond the elections. Led by the party's Director of Elections, Kanini Kega, who now serves as Iala Member of Parliament, they pledged to work with government and set political differences aside. President Ruto, while emphasizing the need to work together, told the MPs that he would be counting on their support on various policy bills he seeks to push. This is the second meeting in a row where President Ruto has met the opposition MPs, having hosted about 10 MPs from Nyanza region Tuesday. While nearly all elected Jubilee MPs and a section of their counterparts from ODM appear to have switched allegiance to President Ruto, a section of Wiper leaders are uncomfortable with the countrywide pressure rallies being organized by Azimio leader Raila Odinga. Mavoko MP Patrick Makau wants Raila Odinga to come clear on the end game of the rallies, while at the same time pledging to work with the Kenya Kwanza administration for the sake of his constituents.
Mimi nimechaguliwa na chama ya Wiper, mimi ni wa Azimio na waheshimu vinara wa Azimio. Lakini lazima tuongeleshane. Hao wananchi wamechagua wa Mavoko wanataka maendeleo. Na kama maendeleo inatembea
And now the body of late Professor George Albert Omore Magoha was taken around Kenya's capital Nairobi in a colorful Igbo funeral procession. The hearse fearing the late education CS, the late CS's body left the Lee funeral home to various stopovers in the capital ahead of his burial in his rural home in Omeru, Siaya County. Our reporter Ruth Wamboi followed the procession and files the following report.
Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. at the Lee Funeral Home. Family and friends gathered to pick the late Professor Magoha's body for a caravan at various places that shaped his life. First stop was at University of Nairobi College of Sciences.
Brought to fruition during his period. A lot of other infrastructure development, like, the cabros, you might see it like it's a small thing, but the biggest part of shaping this environment, the University of Nairobi environment, was done during his period. And not just that, the man is a professor. He has achieved a lot in academia and administration. He might not have taught me, and how I wish he did.
Next stop was at KMPDC complex, where the medical fraternity gathered for prayers and paid their last respects. At St. George's Primary School, the pupils mourn the late professor as a role model who always urged them to work hard in their studies.
George Magoha was a hero to all of us. It is because of him that we were given this CBC. It has opened up new careers for all of us, and it is because of him that all of us are here.
He came to St. George's, he brought us books, and we really honored him.
At Mitiani House, a somber mood filled the air as the late Magoha's body silently made his way to the offices in a brown casket. The last stop was at the Starehe Boys Center. Here, the caravan took 1.5 hours as the Starehe Boys band paid their last respects.
Our late professor really loved academics and education. He really went back to teach at the Maseno University, which we are proud because he is giving back to the society, which is actually what we're being taught here in Starehe, that we give back to the society.
How better I can be a all-rounded student, just like he was an all-rounded person. He could handle the academic part and he could also handle the Department of Education in Kenya.
As the caravan of the late Education CS Professor George Magoha makes a final stop over here at Starehe Boys Center, where he was an alumni, the old boys of Starehe Boys Center have also come to pay their last respects. The old Starehe boys also not left out in paying homage to Magoha.
Starehe, Griffin gave us. He always told us that whenever you are given a cup to clean, you clean it as if it's never been cleaned before. Whatever job you are given, if you're sweeping, you do it the best way you can. And I think George followed that example, and he excelled in anything he did.
University of Nairobi, he actually did a very good job. From there, he went to Kenya National Examination Council and stopped the cheating. After that, you know what he did in the Ministry of Education. So he's somebody we really respect, and he's somebody we want to send off as a Kenyan hero.
Earlier, the late Education CS caravan also passed through Nigerian High Commission, State House Girls Secondary School, and University of Nairobi graduation grounds. Magoha's body will stay at his Lavington home overnight before he's taken to Consolata Shrines in Westlands tomorrow for a funeral mass. Magoha will be laid to rest in his rural home in Umeru, Nyamninia in Siaya County on Saturday, 11th February. Ruth Wamboi reporting for Prime Edition from Starehe Boys Center in the county of Nairobi.
Rest in peace, that is Professor George Magoha. Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Mashogu has lauded the school feeding program, saying it has enabled the government to achieve 100% learner transition and retention in schools. Speaking when he met the members of the Kenya Pastoralist Parliamentary Group, KPG, Mashogu said plans are underway to ensure the school feeding program is sustained for the benefit of the Kenyan child.
And members of parliament.
Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu, while responding to issues raised by the Parliamentary Committee on Education, praised the ongoing school feeding program after the committee pointed out the persistent drought situation in the arid and semi-arid counties negatively impacting learning.
Each and every county that you have come from is a beneficiary of those funds, the school feeding program. And it's a program that goes a long way. One, in enticing people to come to school because of food, such that the 100% enrollment is achieved through that, particularly in ASA areas.
While meeting members of Kenya Pastoralist Parliamentary Group at his Jogoo office in Nairobi, Mashogu revealed plans to sustain school feeding program in order to benefit more children in the country. According to Education Cabinet Secretary, the government is exploring ways of providing opportunities for prospective teachers from pastoral areas, train and deploying them to the region to address the severe teacher shortage in the region.
Because you take people from here to go and work there, they get employment for 1 month. He goes to Mandera and says there's insecurity here, he wants to get back after getting employment. So we have to get homegrown solutions.
This coming as Kenya Pastoralist Parliamentary Group called on the government to ensure consistency of the feeding program and improve the quality of education in arid and semi-arid areas.
Even the money, around 1.9 billion, which was been budgeted, cannot sustain that particular thing. And you know very well that the child in those particular areas, they will go to school when there is food in school. When there is no food, they just move along with the parents.
Primary school, the teachers say that, yes, we got food. Then the pupils will troop to school. Then wanaambiwa chakula imeisha. Then they will not go to school.
Ben Chumba, Prime Edition.
And of course, tomorrow the Education Committee meets the Education Cabinet Secretary, that is Ezekiel Mashogu, obviously on the issues plaguing the education sector. But remaining with the education sector, as thousands of Form 1 students report to various secondary schools across the country, teachers had a hard time dealing with unique cases as students made desperate moves not to miss out on their slots. In Kakamega, a student reported with a chicken to cater for school fees as another trek for over 8 kilometers with only a birth certificate.
Tears of pain. All he craves for is a chance to quench his thirst for education. 12-year-old Victor Ching scored 307 marks in KCPE, and not even distance nor his family's financial situation could limit him. After 8 kilometers of trekking, Ocheng reported to a boys' secondary school in Migori with only his birth certificate and results slip, tired and exhausted. Following the demise of his mother last year, Ocheng says his determination to further his studies is fueled by the zeal to change his life and that of his siblings. The school principal, however, allowed for his admission.
The boy just came to school on his own, having passed so well in primary, but he has come with nothing. So as a school, because of a 100% transition in Kenya, we have decided to admit the boy without nothing.
A similar situation was witnessed in Kakamega, where Francis Alufayo walked for hours from Malaba all the way to Kakamega High School to secure his slot. In the same school, Blessed Mushira reported with a chicken for school fees, saying he has no money to pay.
Wazazi sasa hajiwezi, ndio unaona hadi tumekuja na kuku. Labda tukipata nafasi tunaweza kubaliwa kutuingia Kakamega.
The school finally accepted the hen as part of the school fees, and the student finally admitted. A student caused uproar in Kakamega town after she confronted her father for failure to sponsor secondary education. Melvin Masitsa, who sat for the KCPE exam last year and scored 319 marks, was placed as census area Mautuma in Lugari constituency, Kakamega County. According to the girl, she was furious when she approached her father, who works as a tout at the bus station in Kakamega, only to be told there is no money for school fees.
Jana nilikuja, babangu akanifukuza, akaniambia ana pesa. Nikikuja mara nyingine ananiambia tu ana pesa, niache kumsumbua.
Amekuwa na maksi 316. Nimejaribu, sina mpaka kuku kwa nyumba. Nimejaribu pesa yoyote nipate kwa mfuko mtoto yangu asome. Nimeshindikana.
Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition.
Really sad cases, and one that hopes probably that the education ministry and the stakeholders thereof will actually intervene and help some of the students. More than 4 water companies in Kiambu County are at the verge of winding up operations as water levels continue to drop in major water bodies in the area. Leaders in the county say the prolonged drought has had a toll on major water sources, and the rains are not forthcoming for most water companies, therefore will have to cease operations.
More than 4 water companies in Kiambu County are at risk of closing down their services. The rivers and dams in 10 areas are drying up, making it hard for the companies to continue their operations.
Having a water problem that needs to be addressed. If this crisis is not sorted out, in 3 weeks we are going to shut down this water treatment plant. And this water treatment plant, we are serving more than 2,000 customers, which is about, if we translate that for a family, 6 people from family, you can see how many people are going to miss water, and there are no alternative sources.
In Kikuyu constituency, Ondiri Swamp, the major sources of clean water in the area, has dried, threatening the area's ecosystem. Mangua Swamp, One of the biggest sources of piped water in Limuru town and parts of Kiambu West is also drying up.
If this continues, that means we have to go deeper and get more water. And also being a Ramsar site through UNESCO, the birds which have been surviving in this ecosystem are no longer here.
Leaders are lamenting that human encroachment to water catchment areas is making the situation even worse.
We need to remove some of this vegetation like brugams next to water sources or water bodies because they are heavy consumers of water. We have to stop, and this is again is going to be enforced immediately. We have to stop this encroachment of water bodies.
Currently, most parts of Kiambu County have been forced to ration little available water.
And now a Nairobi Anti-Corruption Court has allowed the withdrawal of fraudulent charges against former Kenya Power Managing Director Ken Tarus. This is after the Director of Public Prosecutions told the court that there was no evidence linking Tarus to the 159 million shillings fraud after review of charges. Meanwhile, the East African Court has constituted a 5-judge bench to hear an appeal by the former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko on the Supreme Court ruling against him.
Former Kenya Power Managing Director Ken Tarus has been set free on the 159 million shillings Kenya Power fraud case. Anti-Corruption Court Chief Magistrate Elizabeth Juma allowed the withdrawal of the charges by the DPP after Senior Assistant Director of Public Prosecutions Alexander Muteti told the court that upon reviewing the evidence provided, Tarus is not linked in any way to the scandal. However, the DPP will continue with the charges against 8 others who had been charged alongside Tarus. Meanwhile, the East African Court of Justice has constituted a 5-judge bench consisting of Justices Yohani Masara, the principal judge, Dr. Charles Nyawelo, Richard Muhumuza, Richard Wabwire Wejelu, and Dr. Gashuko Leonard to hear an application filed by former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko against the Kenyan Supreme Court ruling on his impeachment from office. The hearing is scheduled for 27th of March 2023 in Arusha, Tanzania. Also, the High Court has deferred the plea-taking of Isli-based police officer Ahmed Rashid that was scheduled for Thursday 9th of February, pending a ruling on whether to allow its prosecution on alleged charges of murder. During the hearing, Rashid disputed being on the run, as his lawyers argued for a fair hearing, as well as challenging the plea-taking at the High Court.
We have raised a PO that will be dealing with it tomorrow on the jurisdiction of the court that is taking the murder plea.
And Jackton Odhiambo, the key suspect in the murder of Eldoret-based fashion designer Edwin Kipto alias Chiloba, has pleaded not guilty. Odhiambo, who appeared before Justice Ruben Nyakundi at the High Court in Eldoret, denied any involvement in the murder of Kipto, believed to be his long-term friend. Odhiambo will be held until the 16th of February when the court will receive probation report to determine his bail application. Serafina Robi for Prime Edition.
All right, time for us to take our first breather on Prime Edition. But of course, when we come back with more news lined up for you, where Rimo Jenga is on standby with business. Of course, we'll be later with sport and that conversation with the Member of Parliament, former singer, that is Honorable Joshua Mbidi. We talk about the political realignments. What does it portend for Raila Odinga and, of course, every other political player that is upcoming after this short breather.
Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto. Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Kisha weka star na nambari yako ya simu. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2000.
Aulali.
Lipa kisha subiri draw. Welala. Nitakutimizia ndoto zako. Milioni 2 usiamini.
Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB.
Enjoy a selection of the best. Regina Ray and Tingazi.
Bado hujamwambia unamlike. Umerealize jamwachilia mkono kutoka nikuje hapa.
Love blossoms in Mexico with the Trier sisters in Las Bandidas.
I beg you, please don't go.
I want you to be the happiest man in the world with a woman who appreciates and respects you.
An array of music rave.
Make me lie when I don't want to.
Blues.
You are my everything.
Two local gems. And we sit to chat with the Thiambo.
I can't even tell whether you're looking at me, seeing me, with the Louis Vuitton.
Classic comedy.
Makono too. Hey, mashabiki. Say that again.
Enjoy the Divas programming this February only on KBC Channel 1. Kenya's watching.
Stop searching in wrong places. Billions in unclaimed cash and other assets are here for you. Unclaimed financial assets include bank accounts, insurance policies, and other financial assets belonging to people just like you. Don't let your assets remain unclaimed. Take a few minutes to check and see if you have any unclaimed financial assets. Claiming your assets is easy. Simply visit www.ufaa.go.ke, dial *361# or visit Huduma Center near you. Labda umeomoka na ujui? The Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Vijana chapakazi wenye nguvu za ziada.
My youth, uko na talent ya kusing, spoken word, kucompose jingles ama any other unexploited artistic talent. Gava through Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy na KBC sasa wamekama up na project ya kupromote usanii called Studio Mashinani. Hizi ni studios ziko grassroots and they are fitted with high quality state-of-the-art equipment where you can produce quality audio and video music content for free. What's more, wanaoffer mentorship na talanta yako itakuwa promoted on KBC Channel 1 TV, Y254 na radio stations za KBC. Tembelea Studio Mashinani huko Comarox, Langata, Sauti House Mombasa, Kirwara huko Gatanga, Kitui next to Manyanyoni Chiefs Camp na Kisumu City wako hapo KBC Station. Usilalie talent. This is your chance to commercialize and popularize your talent through Studio Mashinani.
All right, welcome back to Prime Edition. Before we take business, filmmakers are using their tools of trade to call for the prevention and elimination of violence against women and girls. Such is a film, Mercy, that depicts how one wrong decision can affect multiple lives. Here now is Jacqueline Masharia with a review of that film, Mercy, in our weekly segment, Cinemas and Theatre.
Mercy, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Mercy, a short film by Georgia Fernandez, follows Mercy, a survivor of defilement, who grapples with teenage motherhood and shortage of ARVs and is forced to share medication with her ailing mother. Georgia Fernandez, the scriptwriter, notes that the film was advised by research on rising cases of teen pregnancies.
It's such an important story it's told often, but it's not kept in people's minds and people's hearts. Like Adele was saying, it just kind of fades into the background, and it's not something that should ever fade into the background. These are people's lives, their stories, their experiences, and we need to be there to support them.
I would like to encourage producers to focus more on stories that change the society. Gender-based violence, sexual operation, among others, are aspects that we have to actually deal with and communicate to the young people, old people, and all those that perpetuate the same so that we can be able to have a just society.
The film presents bravery, resilience, and perseverance that thousands of young girls around Africa possess. Mercy is a combination of hundreds of different real-life stories affecting girls between the age of 15.
I want people to understand that these people are more than just stories, more than just statistics. They are human beings with hopes, dreams, and goals, and their goals aren't any less valid because of the circumstances their life put them in.
The film Mercy strives for change in the hope that everyone who watches the short film will see how one wrong decision can affect multiple lives. The film also launched the Think Twice movement, which sought to push for men to think twice to avoid getting into compromising situations.
I'm hoping that this film launches the Think Twice movement that will push men around Kenya and around the world one day to think twice before they even touch a girl, because I want to show the repercussions of how those 5 seconds of a wrong decision can really change someone's life and just, change multiple in the process.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
Time for us now to hand you to Wairimu Jenga for the latest in business. Wairimu.
Yes, JJ, how are you this evening? Now we take a look at today's business news, and we kick it off with the newly highly monthly NSSF deductions that will soon take effect after a few remaining legal clearances that have been made. Now, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndongo says a savings-centered financial system would fasten economic revival. He said the move to increase the monthly NSSF deduction is timely and will cushion employees once they retire and will promote a savings culture in Kenya.
As soon as possible, or as soon as practically possible, because you need to accumulate savings. You need credit because you have no savings, isn't it? But if you have savings and credit, you can accelerate your own capital asset accumulation. So for me, I would say that once it is practically possible, we should start with NSSF deductions because it has now been cleared. So for me, it's urgent. When we reformed the pension and they came up with different modalities and even products of pension funds, you can see how it has worked. For those pension funds that have worked very well, they have allowed us to deepen the financial system in terms of different products.
Now, plans are underway to digitize 5,000 government services by July this year as the state moves to automate all its operations. ICT and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo says already 680 services offered by different ministries are online, with plans to automate 1,200 services monthly.
The number of government services that have been automated rose from 350 when the Kenya Kwanza government came into power to 680 currently. The ICT and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary says plans are on to fast-track automation of government services, targeting all services.
We have got the capacity, based on what we have witnessed over the past 2 to 3 weeks, to onboard an average of 300 services per week, additional services per week, which means in a month we should be able to attain a threshold of 1,200. And within the next 5 months, we would be home and dry as far as our projected target level of 5,000 government services aboard that virtual platform is concerned.
He is concerned over the high internet charges, adding that the government is engaging telecommunications companies on the issue.
The government found it imperative that, as opposed to just reducing the cost of data, which anyway we are already engaging the telecommunication companies on, we go the full hog and explore and in fact pursue the possibility of rolling out free Wi-Fi hotspots.
If we can find a way to change that aspect, it will really help many Kenyans out here.
Owalo says plans are underway to roll out 25,000 free Wi-Fi hotspots and 1,450 digital hubs across the country, mainly in areas with low or poor internet coverage.
For doing this, ladies and gentlemen, was twofold. That one, as we speak, we have got a gap in terms of ICT infrastructure in the country. And through that digital superhighway, we should then be able to facilitate access to reliable and stable internet in those parts of the country which hitherto had not been ICT enabled.
Engineer Tanui said the ICT sector had the capability of increasing its GDP contribution from the current 2% to 10%.
There is still a gap in the policy and legal institutional framework, and this is an area we will need to look at inadequate funding, and CS has proposed, and he has taken through the cabinet, and we've got approval to establish the digitalization fund, and this is an issue which will come to this committee, and I think getting this done will be one of the memorable results of this committee.
Ndutamo Kami for Prime Edition.
The government is urging the private sector to tap into the student housing projects niche, whose deficit currently stands at over 200,000 units. According to Housing and Urban Development Cabinet Secretary Zakaria Mwangi, increased private sector financing targeting various niche markets is crucial for the delivery of affordable housing agenda.
The target we had been given by His Excellency for student hostels was, I think, 10,000. And I'm told by Mr. Edward here that they could be doing 12,000 units. So that surely is something to be proud of. As a ministry, we are working on policy incentives to support such ventures as we look to address the housing deficit that is estimated at 2 million units currently.
Kenya is set to receive 5 billion shillings from the World Bank for digitizing the agricultural value chain. World Bank's Rural Entrepreneurship Global Lead Parmesh Shah says the digital grant will go towards enhancing extension services and linking farmers to the markets.
We have now 2 new projects coming in, the Value Chain Development Project and also the Food System Resilience Project, almost an investment of 400 million, out of which 40 million would be done on data and digital. Out of that, 10% of the investment will be on data and digital.
The agricultural startups and IT investors are to have penetration in the farming communities. We must integrate a technology ecosystem to the agricultural research ecosystem. Those two must work together. We must not isolate them.
Now that marks the end of business news for tonight. JJ is coming up next with the sports update after this short commercial break. My name is Wairu Mujenga. Have a good night.
Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto. Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Kisha weka star na nambari yako ya simu. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2,000.
Aulali.
Lipa kisha subiri draw. Welala. Nitakutimizia ndoto zako. Milioni 2 usiamini. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB.
Unclaimed financial assets include bank accounts, insurance policies, and other financial assets belonging to people just like you. Don't let your assets remain unclaimed. Take a few minutes to check and see if you have any unclaimed financial assets.
Nataka sasa kuzied ndio ni muokalize.
Wakati unakuja kutembelewa na watu hospital,
na wakakuwekea sumu, unakuja kusema ni mimi. Mimi uliniona hapo nikikuwekea sumu?
Madoki waliconfirm ni wewe Mzagla.
Very good. Na hizo madoki vile zilikuja hapo. Mimi niliongea na mtu yeyote.
Wewe, nani amesema madogi? Amesema madoki, madokta.
Simply visit www.ufaa.go.ke, dial *361# or visit Huduma Center near you. Labda umeomoka na ujui? The Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
It's the third round of the DFB Pokal. A mini Revere derby in the DFB Cup.
Yusufa Mukoko! Lozier's in there and scores!
This is an old-school raw-pot battle. 5-time winners against 2-time finalists.
Fantastic save from Gregor Kobel.
The raw-pot battle. Only one can go through.
Time for us now to do sports. First rising Nzoia Sugar are still perched at the top of the Football Kenya Federation Premier League log after trouncing Kariobangi Sharks 3-1 at Utalii grounds. Meanwhile, Gor Mahia maintained their second position with a 2-1 victory over defending champions Tusker FC at the Kasarani Stadium.
Keith Imbali scored the opener for Kariobangi Sharks in the 10th minute, while John Mwangi responded for Nzoia Sugar shortly after half-time. Mwangi scored his brace in the 52nd minute before the Sugar Millers sealed the victory with a third goal in the 75th minute.
Joseph Mwangi! Napita upande wa pili. Pasi nzuri tena kwa mara nyingine.
Meanwhile, Gor Mahia maintained their second position on the log with a 2-1 victory over defending champions Tusker FC at Kasarani Stadium. Sydney Ochieng and Benson Omala scored for Kogalo, while Kibwana Shomari scored the consolation goal for Tusker FC.
I can say it. I'm not used to do it, to complain about referees, and we are being told by federation we should not talk about referees, but there's something obvious you can talk. If everybody can see, also I can see. But you cannot say that that's the way we're going to play football. We should lose fairly.
And I just sort of wonder, I think it's good for Kenyan football that we won, because we tried to play football. There was 20 minutes in the second half where maybe we got drawn into their game of playing long ball, but we, especially after the water break in the second half, we reminded the guys, you got to play football. And again, we started playing football, we started passing and moving.
Kenya Police humbled Nairobi City Stars 2-1 thanks to Alvin Mangeni's brace. Ulinzi Stars were held to a 1-1 draw by Bidco United, while Mathare United defeated Viga Bullets 1-0.
And Deputy President Sports Dorcas Rigathi says the government will work closely with the Paralympic Federation to ensure that the rights of sportsmen and women are not violated. Dorcas also made an appeal to the Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba to ensure competitions are organized at the grassroots ahead of the selection of Team Kenya to the 2024 Paris Olympics.
Speaking at the Special Games for Persons with Disabilities on Wednesday, organized by Special Olympics Kenya, held at the Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, Deputy President's spouse, Dorcas Rigathi, mentioned that it is sad to see disabled players not well appreciated when they win medals for Kenya in international events compared to other athletes.
We are planning to bring them up and to have facilities that they can be able, one, to access a place for games, so that some of the places like this, maybe they are not very well designed for them. So we want to have facilities that will be able to rehabilitate them, hospitals that you take care of them and make sure that they are well taken care of, and of course sporting facilities that are adequate and put so that they can facilitate their sports that they can be able to sport like anybody else.
Pastor Dorcas also agreed to become the Special Olympics patron in the country, urging all Kenyans to support people with disabilities.
Some of these facilities, perhaps they were not designed with them in mind. So we want to come up with facilities that will be well designed so that they can be able to play like everybody else and feel good.
We came to support the Special Olympic. You know, we have Paralympic, we have Deaf-Olympia, we have Special Olympic. So different special interest group have their different special games, and this very special, very special kind of disability. And I am one of the supporters, so I couldn't have missed to come to this event.
The event saw players take part in exhibition matches.
African football enthusiasts are eagerly waiting for the announcement of the country that will host the AFCON 2025. Morocco, which has put its bid, says it stands a better chance if infrastructure and football is anything to go by. Morocco finished 4th in the 2022 FIFA World Cup.
Morocco football success in last year's FIFA World Cup in Qatar, where they finished 4th, started over 10 years ago. The Royal Kingdom of Morocco spent heavily in construction of stadia and restructuring the youth structure. In 2018, the country's men football team won the Africa Nations Championship, CHAN, which is a tournament for Africa-based players, before defending it in 2020.
The point is that we have more than 6 stadiums who have the homologation of CAF and FIFA, both of them. So it gives the opportunity to Morocco to propose to some football associations in Africa who don't have stadiums that CAF allows them to play, to come to Morocco to enjoy our football infrastructures.
East Africa region has a long way to go in order to stamp authority in global football.
We've been traveling to Agadir, Tanger, Marrakesh, and other Fez and other cities, and what we have observed is really great and fantastic.
In a couple of days, the African continent will know the host country for AFCON 2025 in an announcement said to be made by the CAF Congress. Reporting for KBC Prime Edition from Casablanca, Morocco, I am Dismas Otuke.
Time for us to have a conversation tonight. We are talking about the political realignments happening in the country. And of course, this is just about what you would say 6 months after the last general election we had, that is in August of 2022. I'm joined by the Honorable Joshua Mbidi, the Member of Parliament for Masinga. He's actually an independent Member of Parliament. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Yes.
Absolutely. First of all, tell us, I'm sure you're looking at the political realignments happening. What do you make of this visit by ODM MPs yesterday, your colleagues, to State House yesterday to see Dr. William Ruto, the President, and then today, 30 Jubilee members of Parliament heading there for the same?
Yeah, thank you very much for hosting me this evening.
You're welcome.
I am delighted that the realignment is going on because I did the same realignment when I was elected as an independent member. Last time I was a Wiper member, but this time I have been elected as an independent member. And when I was elected, I joined the winning team, that is Kenya Kwanza. So I am aligned to Kenya Kwanza together with our independent members. We are 12 of us, and we support the government of the day. And I can see that, you know, being a winner, you need to bring everybody on board. So the president has realized that even those who were not on his side needs to be on his side. And that is what all of us are doing. Even us now in Ukambani, that is in Lower Eastern, we are doing realignment. soon we are going to see the president ourselves. The leaders that are not in Azimio and are there in the periphery, we are going to take them to the State House, have a discussion with the president, and we shall all marshal them to support the government of the day.
Help me understand, probably
Yes.
from where you sit, being elected as an independent member of parliament,
Yes.
supports Kenya Kwanza, and probably this is the same steps that your colleagues are following by trooping to President Ruto's State House. Question being, what informs a member of parliament like you,
Yes.
elected on an independent ticket, another elected on an opposition ticket,
Yes.
to want to work with government?
Good. For 5 years, since 2017, when I was elected for my first time in Masinga constituency, we were in opposition. And for 5 years, we did not benefit. The government projects were being shared among the leaders who were in the government.
But your leader then was still in the handshake. That is Kalonzo Musyoka.
No. He came very late in the handshake.
Okay.
Came very late. Them that went first took the lion's share. If you go to Kisumu now, there is a lot of development. A ship was built there. A jetty was built. I went there the other day. I found there are also over, like expressway, over bridges. And the roads are so well done because the handshake leaned towards there. I cannot complain that we did not get anything in the Lower Eastern. Some of the parts got some developments, at least from Kibwezi to Mwingi to Kitui, the road was tarmacked. So that is a plus for us. But not as much as the real handshake, which was between President Uhuru and Prime Minister.
So members of parliament now are looking for
members of parliament are actually realigning themselves because we need development in our constituencies. And how do you go and start speaking to the government and yet you don't support the government? You cannot expect me to go to the rally in Kamukunchi or in Kibera or in Uruma, and then the next day I go and tell the president that I need a road to be tarmacked from Kangonde to Masinga in my constituency. Will he listen to me? And yesterday I was fighting him. So we need to find a solution of working in harmony with the president of the country.
Let me understand this. For example, and probably from where you sit as a leader, you have a different perspective.
Yes.
Because of those who argue government programs are meant to be implemented across board, and the president himself has said there will be no segregation of leaders, irrespective of how you voted. Development will come to you either way. Why do you need to troop to government if you are elected as an independent member?
You know, speaking is not doing.
Okay.
You can be told that we shall treat you equally, but all people are not equal. Some are more equal than the others. So what we need to do is that this country is ours. We need to develop it ourselves. But it will be more better. The person who is the driver of the bus, you are safe when you are inside the bus and the driver is there looking at you. But not when you are outside, you are not being carried by this bus. So the same way, a politician wants to be safe. If I tarmac 2 roads in my constituency, I will have a plus. My people will see that the government has helped me. Right? If I don't do any of those in 5 years, I will have wasted the people's votes that voted for me, and they have put me twice in parliament, of which they had a lot of faith. So I need to do more than only the bursary that I take to them. I need to do more than NGCDF, which I build small classes here and there. I want to do massive. I want to do a dam, especially now, it's very dry. The cows have died. People have nowhere. You have seen there in you have seen it when you are projecting the news that Kiambu, the water is drying. So if I can do 5 dams in my constituency,
helped by the president,
helped by the president, I'll be a darling of the people.
Tell me something, because the Constitution espouses a situation where the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary are completely independent of each other. Of course, there's a mutual relationship that is almost seeming as symbiotic. There are those who would argue this conglomeration of members of parliament around the president is in itself parliamentary capture.
Is not a parliamentary capture.
Okay.
There is nothing like you are being captured as a member. It's your will. You are willing. You can see, for example, where are we going with the rallies? What benefits are we benefiting? Isn't it? Can you do a rally and get a dam done in your constituency because you have made a lot of noise in the rallies? You cannot. So you know, members of parliament are very clever people, very learned people. You must think and decide, where am I benefiting, right? So there is nothing like a capture. There is nothing like a state capture. The judiciary, the legislature, and the executive they cooperate together because none can work without the other one. All of us, we work as a team. But more so, a member of parliament needs to be closer to the powers that may be, so that when others are benefiting, you are among themselves. So soon and very soon, we are going to do a revolution in Ukambani. We are going to rally behind the president because we don't want our people to stay in the court for 10 years. I can tell you for free, if they were unable to defeat the president when he was outside, they cannot do it when he is now the president of the country. It is 10 years, and therefore we don't want to have our people outside in the cold for another 10 years.
Quite an interesting one. Tell me something, because you're talking about a revolution in Ukambani. You have had a kingpin for quite some time, and that is in the person of Kalonzo Musyoka. I think the president has tried to woo him into government. He still resists, and he's well within his right. And with Raila Odinga in the rallies, the pressure rallies that are being held. I'm wondering, for a member of parliament like yourself, of course elected on an independent ticket,
yes,
but vying in his backyard, where does that put you, of course, when rubber has to meet the road?
When I say a revolution, there are so many people that needs direction who have not been given direction. Here is a community that has been in the cold for as long as I know. We have never been in government. We were only in a government when the leader of Wiper was a vice president. That's the nearest we went. But since then, we have been in the cold. So, by revolution, I mean, we are going to rally the masses and educate them and do a public awareness that for sure we are not doing well. We need to tell our people where we are heading. We are not heading in the right direction. So we need to tell them we need to come together and reason together, come to the government, work with the President Samuel William Ruto, so that our issues can be tackled as easy as possible. You can see the goodies that he has been going with in Rift Valley, in the Central. We need the same goodies in Lower Eastern.
You know, Mheshimiwa, of course, again, within your right to associate yourself with any political formation.
Yes.
Budget making is a parliamentary process. You even have the chair, Budgets and Appropriations Committee.
Yes.
And if budget then emanates from Parliament, it means then what President Ruto is implementing much largely comes from what has been budgeted for in Parliament. Why can't you be able to push for that in the Assembly?
You see, budget is made in Parliament.
Yeah.
But whose agenda is it? Which agenda do you want to finance? It's not your own agenda as a member of parliament. It is a government agenda. Who is the government? Who is the executive? Okay? He is the owner of this country, and he needs to drive his agenda through. So the ministries must follow his agenda. Like now, Kenya Kwanza is implementing his manifesto, right? So the budget must lean towards Kenya Kwanza manifesto, so that the things that the president promised Kenyans when he was campaigning have to be fulfilled. Before the 5 years, we shall be looking at his scorecard. What have you done? What did you promise? Have you been able to fulfill all this? How does he do it? Is that through the legislation whereby we give him the money to do the work. By doing the work, you don't put money in your constituency. No, you put the money in the ministries. And the ministries are the ones that implement what is to be done in the constituencies.
All right.
And you see, you have to be close to you know power. Power is not very easy. You need even to befriend the PS, the CS, the president, so that when you reach in his office, he has your ears.
All right.
Right.
It's kind of interesting. And as we wind up, very quickly, your colleagues, you're an independent member of parliament, so
Yes.
obviously
Yes.
nothing much trouble for you.
No, nothing.
Your colleagues, probably from ODM,
Yes.
have had their party actually say that they went to State House without the sanctioning of the party. And I think there's disciplinary action coming for them. So has Jubilee indicated. Obviously, very uncomfortable with that visit by the 30 members of parliament. I don't know what your advice would be to your colleagues who probably would be pursued in the next coming week.
Which colleagues now? I'm independent.
Now I'm talking about your colleagues in Jubilee and in ODM.
No, members of parliament are elected by the electorates in the constituency. They are independent in their minds. So whichever decision they make they make for their own good. And also, it is 5 years to go, right? You can be a bad boy today, and within the 4 years, you are a good boy to your party, isn't it?
So you're telling the party to leave them?
Yes, well, yes. But also, if you benefit from the government, you can also switch. You can switch to the party of the president. You never know, because people have suffered, especially the Nyanza has suffered for many years, and they can see the pitch, and they can see. Maybe they are not going anywhere. They can see there's nothing. They are following nothing. You get the point? So they must follow something tangible which can bring development in their own area. The same way with the Jubilee. The Jubilee now, their party is the ex-president, isn't it? So now what powers does he have now? You see? So you need to align yourself where there is power and where you can benefit.
But I don't know if we were to go that way.
Yes.
By allowing members of parliament, once they're elected, to do whatever they wish as long as they think it is in the interest of their constituents.
Yes.
I don't know what that would mean for political hygiene in this country, because that's why we have the Political Parties Act.
You know, political parties belong to people. They have the owners. They are actually limited companies where the owners earn from, right? So for how long will you be paying? How long will you keep on being someone's employee? You can also become an employer.
In 1 minute.
First of all, I would like to say hi to my constituency, Masinga constituency. We have now been able to get some money to give bursaries to the school-going students. We have started writing the checks, and we are soon going to issue them so that the secondaries can benefit. The university will have to wait a bit because all that we have gotten is for secondary schools. And what I would like to tell all parents is to take their children to school while waiting for the bursaries. Don't wait for the bursary alone so that you can take your child to school. Take your child to school as you wait for the bursary to come so that we can help each other as we continue to educate them. The other thing is that there is a lot of famine in my constituency. I would wish the well-wishers can donate some food to me so that I can give my constituency members so that we can fight this famine together with the well-wishers.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Joshua Mbidi, the Member of Parliament for Masinga in Machakos County, talking to us about political realignments. And he says, you know what? Political parties is an enterprise that is being funded. Is it so? We shall see in the coming days. This is where we put a cap on Prime Edition. Thank you very much for watching. Up next is The Rave. Have yourself a good night. God bless.
Enjoy a selection of the best. Regina Ray and Tingazi.
Bado hujamwambia unamlike. Umerealize hujamwachilia mkono kutoka nikuje hapa.
Love blossoms in Mexico with the Trier sisters in Las Bandidas.
I beg you, please